In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and shiny-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
To the Business for Superheroes show. I'm Vicky Fraser, and the man sitting next to me is a douche canoe.
Hello.
I've just asked him really nicely to please not laugh at me.
I didn't laugh.
Oh, that came out really whiny.
Please don't laugh at me.
Because, well, it doesn't matter. He mocks me for my introductions every single week, and so I just tried to sound like a normal person, which apparently I'm incapable of doing. So,
hello everybody.
Hi. This week we're drinking really cold beer.
Really ice cold beer. Somebody needs to turn that fridge down.
Cheers. My fingers have now frozen to the beer bottle.
Turn that fridge up.
I don't know. I'm drinking Birra Moretti because I have great taste in beer.
And I'm on the Jingdao,
which is Chinese beer, which is also very nice.
Also very great.
But I prefer the Moretti.
I do like the Moretti. Sometimes I just want a light beer, and this is lighter.
Is it? Okay. Right then. Anyway, so this podcast is entitled One Day Will Never Ever Come.
Right.
Because one day, there's no such thing as one day. The only day that exists is today. Right now.
Okay.
No such thing as tomorrow. It's like, I guess I could have just said tomorrow never comes, but that's everyone says that.
You realise we haven't done the farmyard rundown? There's been no talk of, normally we're like updating about chickens and things like that.
Well, the chickens are all fine.
Chickens are all fine, people. Don't worry.
Chickens are all fine. So are the cats, and Maisie Snake Fantastico is about to get an extension to her...
She is.
House.
She is, indeed. The only thing that happened with the chickens was one of them broke into next door's garden.
Oh yeah, Shirley.
Shirley needed to be rescued.
Yeah,
and there was an idiot.
And there was a massive heron, apparently. Although I wasn't here for any of this.
It was an exciting Saturday morning, folks.
I was at rehearsals. Anyway, so this podcast is entitled One Day Will Never Ever Come. And it's been inspired by two things. Partly because people... I often get asked how I do so much stuff, which I find hilarious because I spend all of my time thinking, I'm not doing enough stuff. I need to do more stuff. I'm a massive failure.
Yes. That's why you get so much stuff done.
Well, yeah. And, if Vicky is listening to this... Hi, Vicky.
Hi, Vicky.
Vicky Labouche. If she's listening to this, she's just going to be rolling her eyes and nodding her head because she did a personality test on me and she was just like, you will never feel like you're doing enough. And I was like, well, that's depressing. But I don't know, I guess I do quite a lot of stuff. Circus, pole, house, veg garden, washing your pants.
Washing my pants.
Which takes up
Big job.
lot more time than you might think. Cartoons, all the marketing for my own business as well as client work, as well as, enacting the 30,000 different ideas that I have every day.
Drinking beer, podcast.
Yeah. Our podcast is part of marketing.
Seeing friends once in a while. Went to a party this weekend.
We did.
That was cool. But
yeah, and people are like, well, how do you manage to do all this stuff? And the answer is that I actually don't sleep. That's not true. I subsist on cocaine and sugar. That's also not true. Mom. That's not true. But the thing is, I don't always find the balance, do I?
No.
I am about as far from perfect as you can possibly get.
This is true.
And I am struggling to make everything work just as much as everybody else. Well, maybe a little bit less than most people. With a little bit more cash, possibly. I'm probably a bit more organised than some people. I get more stuff done. Anyway, but that's what this podcast has been inspired by. And it's also been inspired by an interview that I heard on the Copywriter Club podcast, which is a really good resource for copywriters and people who run their own businesses and write their own copy, because Kira Hug and Rob Marsh are the hosts, and they interview copywriters basically, but they've interviewed some amazing copywriters like Brian Kurtz and Roy Fur and Kim Krause-Schwarm, who has also been on my podcast.
Hey.
Name drop.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, Kim. So yeah, they interview all of these amazing kind of A-list, superstar copywriters.
What's it called?
It's called the Copywriter Club podcast.
The Copywriter Club podcast.
Yeah.
Look it up, folks. It's a good one.
It is a good one, and I listen to it regularly. It's very good. Anyway, so on this particular occasion, they were talking to a guy called James Wedmore, who I hadn't heard of before, and he isn't a copywriter. He's actually an entrepreneur and business owner and all-round smart cookie, and he has hired Kira as his copywriter because he doesn't want to do the copy, isn't very good at the copy, has other things that he's good at. Anyway, he was talking about kind of running a business and all that kind of stuff, but he finished off talking about finding balance in your life and business, and it really hit home for me. Sometimes you listen to stuff and you're like, oh man, that's the thing that I'm going to remember and I'm going to listen to again. And for me, hearing him talk about this kind of balance in life, not in a kind of woo-woo way, but in a it was like, okay.
He wasn't trying to align your chakras or anything.
He was not trying to align my non-existent chakras, no. But yeah, it kind of hit home because I spent so long just kind of fighting fires and bouncing from one thing to the next when I first started my business. Do you remember all that?
Yes, back in the dark days.
Yeah, and it's completely exhausting, and I still have days like that. And today has been kind of one of those days, which is why I am kind of so, beer. Cheers. It's kind of been one of those days. And so today we're talking about designing your business around your life and finding a bit of balance about the whole thing and, fighting back against the hustle. Because today's been actually a really good example of that, because look at my list for today, Joe.
Okay, I am looking at the list. That is it.
Don't read it out.
Okay, it's a pretty big list.
It is a big list, but it's got
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, yeah, something like 20 things to do.
Yeah, so some of those are carry forward because I just want to remember to do them throughout this week. They're kind of week goals rather than day goals. But my Mondays, typically, the afternoon is filled with coaching calls. So I have, I'm coaching someone to write her book. In fact, I'm coaching 2 people to write their books. And that happens on a Monday afternoon. And sometimes Monday will be the day for my Inner Circle teleclass. And so that needs to be done. And so that's like a 3-hour block of stuff, which I really need to put a buffer between because by the time I've finished, I can't talk. But like this morning, I had a call booked with Stuart. Hi, Stuart.
Hi, Stuart.
Which was really cool because I haven't spoken to him for ages. He's one of my superheroes. And, I had a bunch of other stuff. And then I got an email and then I had a call booked in with one of my clients. Pretty much my favourite client. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, Teresa.
And she had an urgent thing come up that she needed dealing with. And of course I was going to deal with it. So, and that kind of meant that the things that I'd got planned in got shoved out.
Yes. And
it has made me realise that, Mondays for me, I think, just have to be the calls that I have scheduled and then empty space to be filled with,
Maybe you get an opportunity to do something other than what you've planned, but maybe you shouldn't beat yourself up about not achieving the plan.
Exactly, because tonight I didn't go to trapeze, and the reason for that was threefold actually. Firstly, because I'm quite achy after basically 2 weeks of solid aerial practice. Partly because Ken, the conservation oak man.
Hi, Ken.
Hi, Ken, who is not listening to this podcast, came around to talk to us about oaky things, and partly because I wanted to get the thing done for Teresa that I promised.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say just because you wanted to sit down and have a beer with me.
And also because I just wanted to sit down and have a beer with my Joe. 4 reasons. So anyway, but the thing is, my day got derailed because I'd planned too much into it for what I could reasonably cope with. So and that's made me think, well, okay, so how am I going to change my Mondays? And I'm going to change them by booking in calls, and that's going to be my coaching call day and all the rest of it, my client call day. And I'm not going to book anything else in. So my work, I will do it as long as I don't have an urgent client thing to attend to. And by the way, I don't jump on urgent client things as a rule, but there is one client that I will do that for because I'm on a retainer with her. And
that's what she's paying for.
If you have a great client, then you go above and beyond and you do the things that you want to do for them. But yeah, so Mondays, I need to change Mondays to become a thing. Are you crossing something off my list for me?
podcast prep.
Oh man, yes, I have done it, but I'm also quite upset that you've crossed it out because, as every fool know, crossing things off your to-do list is one of the most satisfying things that you can do ever in your entire life. It's like having your feet rubbed.
Well, you can cross out podcast record in a minute.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Thank you for that. I bet you feel like you've done a thing now, don't you?
I do. I feel good. I feel virtuous.
And that is another thing that we're going to talk about later. So anyway, today has been my Manic Monday.
And we don't like that.
I thought you were going to burst into song then. That was my cue for you to burst into song.
You know me. I do not do the singing.
I know, that makes me sad. Oh. I was trying to get... Oh, I'm not going to. You cannot have your Baby Bell until you sing the Baby Bell song, Joe. Sing the Baby Bell song.
Nope.
Sing the Baby Bell song. Yeah, that happened in the car on Friday. So, we so often see and hear people talk about 24/7 hustle and endless sacrifice, and if you want to have, a 9-figure business, then you need to,
never sleep
and hustle the shit out of it.
Yes.
And if you want to have a 9-figure business, there's probably a certain amount of that you have to do. I don't want a 9-figure business. I mean, if somebody gave one to me, I wouldn't object. But
Sell it quick.
Sell it real quick. But, and yes, we do have to make some sacrifices. And there is a certain amount of truth to to that really annoying cliche that, what was it, the entrepreneur success thing. If you want things that nobody else has, you have to be willing to do things that nobody else will do. Mm-hmm. And there is a certain amount of truth to that. But not forever, for maybe a couple of years. And if you're working on a specific project, then you're going to want to put in that extra effort.
But that is not how you should live your life.
It's not how you should live your life. And it's not how you should do it long term either, because you will burn out.
Yeah, stress. And,
it's exhausting.
You're knackered and have horrible relationships and end up with horrible health.
Have we got a horrible relationship?
No, but if you work 24/7 and hustled all the time and then we would have.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right, and I'm kind of messing, but yeah, you're quite right about that. You have to, you have to have the balance, and again, it'll depend on your aims. So I'm not interested in building a bazillion dollar pound business. If it happens, then that's amazing, but that is not my aim. My aim is to have a business and a life that serves me and that is fun, and that affords us enough time to do the things that we want to do, both of us.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I kind of want, in this podcast, I want to give people permission to put themselves and their health and their happiness and their well-being and their fun first. And I want business to be fun for business owners.
Yes.
And the reason that we find this so difficult, and this is something that I've been thinking about for a while, but James Wedmore in his interview articulated it really well, and I was like, fuck, that's what the problem is. So I'm going to have a bit of a rant about how society trains us really badly for this stuff, and why I think our school systems need updating or adding to or something. Because we spend 18 years of our lives, at least 18 years and more, sometimes being trained to be an employee.
Right.
So, we're trained to stand in line, do as we're told, wait our turn, and, ask permission to go to the toilet. You know what I mean? And it's and yes, okay, I'm being a little bit facetious, and it's good to learn rules and it's good to learn to wait for things, but that's all you learn at school in terms of kind of later behaviour for employees. Because and before anybody gets ragey, by the way, and sends me like anthrax on cat poo in the post, I am not knocking teachers, because you cannot knock the teachers. I'm waving my hands dramatically. And I know that there are many wonderful teachers and some outstanding teachers. It's the system and the lack of flexibility that I'm bitching about, because the thing is, you kind of do school and then you get a job and then you realise, I could run my own business, or you get fired and then have to run your own business. But it's so much harder than it needs to be, because we're not trained for it. We don't have the skills and the mindset and the innovation, because it's all trained out of us at school and when we get our jobs. Did you, when you were at school or even uni, did you did any of it prepare you to be in charge of your own business or run your own business?
Well, no.
No. And I think that's sad. And I'm not saying that schools should be built around, you know, making sure that people can run their own businesses, because clearly most people are going to be employees. But there should be an option. It's like, I remember careers counselling, and oh my God, that was a waste of time and so depressing. It's like, oh no, don't set your sights that bloody high.
Really?
No, I'm being a little bit unfair, but it was like, oh, you know, let's be realistic about what you could do. It's like, no, let's not be fucking realistic. Let's start with what you want to be and what you think you can do.
You can get there.
Anyway, that's an entirely different run. But maybe it has improved since I was at school, because it's quite a while since I've been at school.
I think it's there's a whole load of life skills and stuff that gets really badly taught or missed out altogether. I mean, the whole kind of personal finance and credit cards and overdrafts and loans and all that kind of jazz is
I think
it's just not done. Well, it wasn't when I was there.
No, I think they do some of that stuff now it's like, they call it personal and social education. The stuff the Daily Mail rails against because it teaches you how to put condoms on instead of having an unwanted pregnancy.
Well, yeah.
And you know, if I am wrong, if we are wrong about all of this, please write in and tell us.
Yeah,
Because-
preferably with, you know, rage.
Yeah, preferably with rage and swears. And, you know, explain how I'm wrong and what schools are doing to give kids this other opportunity. Because if they're doing that, then I'm delighted. But I am not seeing any evidence of that with young people kind of coming out of school and with the way that I talk to my nieces and nephews. And, you know, I don't see that they're being given any training at all on how to be an entrepreneur, or even that might be an option for them. It was never even an option for me.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that there's much alternative to doing exams, going to university, getting an information job.
No. And, you know, I love education is amazing. I love education. You should take advantage, absolutely every advantage that you can of any educational opportunities presented. But passing exams and formal education is not the be-all and end-all. There are other ways to educate yourself. And that kind of is what bothers me. I guess schools have a vested interest in maybe not giving people alternatives. But I don't know. And, you know, if there is training now on how to be an entrepreneur, or at least, you know, if kids are told there is another option, you know. But when I was at school, it didn't even occur to me that I could run my own business. It didn't even cross my mind. I kind of had this vague idea that it might be quite nice to have. I remember drawing logos for Sunflower Secretarial Services, but it never crossed my mind that I could actually do it because. You know, because I'd completely forgotten about that until this moment, you know. But it never crossed my mind that I could do it because that was something that other people did. It was something that rich people did.
Yeah.
And that's another bloody mindset issue. Anyway, but the thing is, this is kind of all a big problem. So when I started my business, I had nothing except school and being an employee to draw on. And so I ran and sometimes still run my business like I am an employee. And that's a massive problem because, I mean, with the employee mindset, not like an employee. And that carries over to clients as well. And so, you know, I was talking to another copywriter a while ago who was telling me that he feels like if he doesn't put in full 8 hours on the client work, then he feels bad and wrong and somehow guilty. And it's like, but that's not, you know, that's not how we work. And, you know, I sometimes feel if I don't spend 8 hours at my desk working, preferably 9 to 5, that somehow I've done a bad thing and I failed.
You're not actually doing the things you need to do.
No, and that's nonsense, especially in my line of work. It might be a little bit different for other lines of work, but I know that actually a lot of my time that people might look at me and go, what are you doing, you lazy trout? I'm actually spending productively thinking about stuff. And, you know, if I'm sitting staring out of a window, I'm not just, I haven't got goldfish in my head. I'm actively thinking about... like some people I could mention.
Charming.
I actively am thinking about a problem, a copy problem, or a strategy problem or something. So, you know, it's and I could easily do that walking around the garden or going for a run or you know, whatever. So yeah, there's that. Oh, and that's just reminded me of something else. Oh no, that's going to be. Should that be a separate podcast?
I don't know what you were thinking about. Swerving off in all kinds of directions now.
Okay, I'll come back to it. So,
Shall I write it down? What was it?
yeah, just write down what was it. He's actually writing that down for me. Welcome to the inside of my brain, dear listener. This is what Joe has to live with.
Honestly, sometimes I just come home from work and Vicky hasn't spoken to anybody for like 10 hours, apart from the cats, and they generally don't speak back. So I like walk in the door and Vicky goes, "Here's all of the things I've thought about today." And I'm like, "Oh, Jesus." And I honestly just go to my happy place inside my head, nod every 10 seconds. It's just ridiculous.
He's the best husband in the world because he's never once put me under the patio, and I'm sure it must have been tempting at times. Anyway, back in the room. So yeah, this is a really big problem, this kind of employee mindset mentality, the kind of 9 to 5, 8 hours a day thing, because what we tend to do, and what we all do when something goes wrong in our businesses, or if we're not getting the results that we want, or something hasn't worked like we wanted it to, or the money's not coming in fast enough, what do? We just work harder.
Just put more hours in.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you're kind of laughing, but that's what we do, isn't it? And I bet you do it as well.
Yeah.
As an employee. Well, you're less of an employee and more of a kind of awesome superstar.
I tend to go for a walk around and beat people.
Yeah, hit them with Nerf guns. But yeah, I mean, that's what we do. We keep working harder at the stuff that isn't necessarily getting the results, and we avoid the scary stuff that actually is the stuff that we need to do to move ourselves forwards, which is really important. And this is the stuff that we talk about but don't actually do. It's the difference between talkers and doers. But I mean, we all do it sometimes. I do it as well. And this is the 5% of terrifying stuff. This is what we avoid because we kid ourselves that the busy work that we're doing, the mundane stuff, that needs doing. It's like, oh, you know what? I've got this thing that I need to do, but you know, I've got all of this stuff to do first. And if I do that stuff, I can tick it off my list. And it feels like progress. And it feels really important. And I reckon that 80% of that stuff that we do, that we tick off, we could just not bother with. And it wouldn't make any difference at all, because that's the nature of things. Because we kind of know about the 80-20 rule. It's like, you know, we get 80% of our results from 20% of the stuff we do. And I think you can refine that further and be like, you get 95% of your really good results from the 5% of stuff that's too bloody scary for most people to do.
Maybe, yeah.
And, you know, sometimes that 5% of thing will be something that you'll try and it doesn't work. You leave it and you chalk it up to, and it's a good experience because you learn that it doesn't work.
Stuff. Yeah.
And then you do something else. But, you know, I do this all the time. It's like, you know, you feel like you're making progress. I've got this stuff to do. And then you think, well, I need to do this big thing. But then I've got this stuff to do. And I keep doing it until I kind of catch myself. And then I'll like text Misty or something and say, I'm stuck in a circle of stupid. And so she'll like hit me in the face, metaphorically, and kickstart me into doing the scary stuff by telling me something really scary that she's just done. And I'll be like, fuck, why am I not doing that?
Get on with it.
And that's how it works. So, you know, instead get someone else to do all the mundane stuff, or don't do it at all, and give yourself permission to do the really scary shit that's going to make a big difference. Because that's really, really important. It's going to be the scary stuff is the only stuff that's going to be worth it in the end, I think.
It's the stuff that marks you out from your competitors. It's the stuff that differentiates you. It's the stuff that is literally putting your head above the parapet. Yeah,
totally. And we don't do it. Instead, we drown in the unimportant stuff that you have to do first. And something about alligators and swamps.
Something alligator swamp.
Yeah, but there's a quote about draining alligators and swamps, draining swamps and alligators. I don't know, but that's the...
Cool story.
Thanks. But no, it's like not seeing the wood for the trees kind of thing.
Right, it's like Roger Moore running across the back of the alligators in Name That Bond movie.
I don't think I've seen that Bond movie.
Oh, it does. It's the one where they do the loop. It's got that comedy policeman in it. It's a good one.
That was a great. If anyone can identify that Bond movie from Joe's description, I will send you a book.
It's the one where they pretty much do a 360 spin in a car across a broken bridge.
Across a broken alligator. If someone can name that Bond film, I will send you a book.
First person, not all of you.
Yeah, first person, not all of you. Because there's so many of you.
So many. We need to do a shout out, by the way.
Oh, we'll do that at the end.
Oh, okay.
I haven't forgotten. So yeah, so basically, what is the result that you're after, dear listener? What result do you want? What do you want your business to do for you?
What do you want life to look like?
What do you want life to look like? And what is the 5% of activities that you can do to get yourself there faster? What's the scary shit that you're resisting doing because it's scary? I hereby give you permission and an order to do that scary shit. Because another thing that I can guarantee you is that when you start doing it, it's actually not as scary as you've built it up to be in your head. And it's a lot more fun than you think it's going to be. And it's the fun stuff as well. The fun stuff. The fun stuff is the scary stuff. So, what can you do that's going to get you to the business and life you want quicker than anything else? Do it. Rather than spend days and weeks and years on the mundane stuff because you can tick it off, spend a week doing the painful stuff and see more results from it.
And you'll feel super good at the end of it.
Yeah. This is what I do with my superheroes. I kick them into doing the scary shit. I was talking to Catherine the other day and I borrowed my brain and she was like, oh,
Hi, Catherine.
Sure. Hi, Catherine. And she's like, I'm not sure. And I'm like, just fucking do it. And there was more to it than that. But it was cool. But yeah, I mean, the confidence in yourself thing comes out of that as well, because if you do this scary stuff, you'll build confidence in yourself and you'll build the kind of person that you want to be, because remember, people buy you, not your product. And so this is, like you said, getting your head above the parapet.
And the more scary stuff you do, the less scary it'll be, and you'll find new scary stuff to do. And it'll be really scary.
I'm not sure that helps. But the other thing that kind of inspired this podcast is people building their business first and then waiting for their life to happen. It's like the whole, I'm going to work for my whole life until I'm 65 and then I'm going to retire and then I will live. And I think one of the saddest things in the world, and I lived my life like this for a long time and I feel sad just thinking about how much time I wasted, is when you say to yourself, I will be happy when I have done this, or I will be happy when I have got this.
Yes.
When the truth is, you're only ever going to be happy when you allow yourself to be so, when you allow yourself to be satisfied with what you have. Because until you are, even if you feel like you don't have a lot, if you're not satisfied with what you have, then nothing is ever going to make you happy. That's not to say that you don't have ambition and you don't strive. It's to say that your happiness can't be tied to the results in your life.
Certainly can't be tied to a bank balance.
Certainly can't be tied to a bank balance. I mean, yeah, money will make everything more pleasant and less and more comfortable.
Posher cake, comfier chairs.
And obviously, if you're really genuinely struggling and it's painful, then there's a level above which, but there's a level above which it doesn't make a difference. And my point is that if you're waiting for something to make you happy, I don't think you will ever find that happiness. I think you need to find it in what you have now. Okay, good.
Yes, you need to change your expectations and change your attitude rather than accumulate more stuff. Yeah, and kind of the other side to that kind of, well, not the other side, but an extension of that is when people say, oh, if I can just do this, then I will be able to be this, or if I can just have this thing, then I can do this thing, or if I can do all this stuff, then I can be this person. It's like, well, no, be this person now. Be the person who you are and you want to be, and be happy now. And then you do the thing, and then you have, it's like James Wedmore said, it's be, do, have, not have, do, be. Like most people are like, I need to build this business and then I can be this. Yeah. It's like, and his philosophy, and I totally agree, is you need to be the person first, and then you need to do the thing. And then you will have stuff. The last part is the having. Yeah, the last part is the having, and that will come from what you've done to build your business. And that's like, it sounds so simple, but it's actually quite a profound shift in how most people think about things. Yeah. And I think if you can do that, because I realised the other day, I was kind of wandering around and thinking, we've got so much to do and I can't wait till we've got the kitchen done, and, really looking forward to going on holiday. And then I sat down in the veg garden and with the chickens and stuff, and just kind of examined how I was feeling. I was like, I would have been like, right, and then one day I'll be happy. But I was sitting there thinking, I've got all this stuff to do and I'm really looking forward to it, and we've got so far to go, and I'm so happy because, I love my life, how it is. I love, there's things I would change and all the rest of it, but I'm happy. That's good to hear. Yeah. And it was just like a little bit, it was just a bit of a jolt, because it's such a contrast to how I would have been a few years ago. And it was just... Well, you would have been, one day I'll allow myself to be happy when I've achieved this, when I've done that, when this has all come together. When I feel like I deserve it. Which is really sad. Everybody deserves to be happy.
So anyway, so yeah, that was kind of got a bit deep at the end, but
Oof.
but my point to all this is, you know, don't build the business first and then build the life.
Yeah.
Build the life, have the life, and then build the business around it. Because if you do it the other way around, if you build the business first and then have the life, it will destroy you.
This isn't advising you to, you know, go and buy the speedboats, by the way. You know, this is advising you to build a life that you like first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And part of that is your business. But
And sometimes you'll spend a month working crazy hours.
Yeah.
And that's fine, as long as it's not every month, every year, because that's unsustainable. And, you know, there'll be nothing left of you to enjoy the life that you build if you do it that way, because it'll just eat you up inside and just destroy your relationships. And the what is it, by the way, that you mentioned is I was going to talk about the importance of having a hobby, but I think that's a whole podcast in itself. So we'll do that another day. An all-consuming hobby as well. So next week we've got a legitimate expert on the show. Mark Silver is talking to me about how to write effective headlines, and he knows his stuff because he is an honest-to-goodness chief sub-editor at the Times newspaper.
blimey.
He is a kind of a big deal. And I'm really chuffed that he came on the show. So you need to tune in next week if you struggle with headlines. Shout out to Lois and Tequila Pixie.
Hello.
Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Who we saw at the party. And maybe Anne. I think maybe Anne listens.
This is slightly alarming to go to a party and discover there's people out there listening to the podcast.
Right. And if Jen and Russ happen to be listening, hi Jen and Russ, we met them. Yeah, at a party, saying, meeting new people I hadn't met before, friends of friends, and what do you do? And Jen says, I'm a freelance copywriter. That means, and I'm like, no way, I'm a copywriter too. And she's like, I always have to explain what I do. I'm like, not this time. And it was just so funny.
That's nice.
Yeah. So yeah, next week, headlines. If you like this podcast, please go to iTunes and leave us a review. We will really enjoy reading it, and it'll help more people find us and listen to us. Or if you're not like an iTunes reviewer person, that's cool. Instead, you could share it. If you know somebody who will enjoy this nonsense, send them a link, vickyfraser.com/podcast. You can email it, Facebook it, tweet it, LinkedIn it,
Whatever.
Instagram it, maybe. And if you're ready to start doing things differently and building a life and a business that works for you instead of burning out, then go to businessforsuperheroes.com/inner-circle, and I will hold your hand and spank your behind. I may have overpromised. Thank you for listening, dear listener. Joe, thank you.
No problem.
And I'll be back same time next week. Bye.
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.